Good morning and welcome this morning. My name is Nick Carver. I'm the chairman of Nottingham University Hospitals NHS Trust, and welcome to this special board meeting. There's a couple of announcements that I have to make first of all, just to note that we are not expecting any fire alarms, but if the fire alarms do go off, if you follow colleagues at the back, they will show you where to exit. I think the other point to emphasise is that it is lovely and cool in here, but there's a strong evidence base that when you come into an air-conditioned environment from the heat outside, you dehydrate very quickly. So if you want a glass of water, please help yourself. There's water, plenty of it at the back. So please stand up and move around and grab yourself a drink if you feel that's necessary. The board of NUH meets every other month in public, and members of the public and indeed media are very welcome to come along to that board meeting. But we felt it would be completely inappropriate after the publication of Donna's report yesterday to wait until the next routine cycle of board meetings to talk about the Ockenden report. Hence this special board meeting that we're having today. I'm especially pleased at this board meeting to welcome representatives of the harmed families, and Emily Stringer a little later on will make a statement from the harmed and bereaved families. The sequence of events is going to be essentially as follows. So I want to make a statement in a moment or two's time on behalf of the board as a whole, after which Emily Stringer will make a statement, and then Anthony May, our chief executive, supported by Tracy Pilcher, the trust chief nurse, will talk about future oversight arrangements. Then I'm going to give an opportunity to speak to Donna Ockenden and also to Michelle Welsh MP, who we're very pleased to see is with us this morning. Then we will take questions and seek to answer those questions. Where we can't answer them, we will undertake to come back to you with an answer. And then after that, I'll make some very brief closing remarks. Okay, I want to make a statement on behalf of Nottingham University Hospitals Trust Board. Yesterday, I was present when Donna presented the findings of her independent review. From what I have heard and read so far, it is clear that we have failed in our provision of maternity services. Specifically, we have failed the families and communities that we exist to serve. Our failings have caused harm, loss, and lifelong pain and suffering. The consequences are profound. The Chief Executive of the Trust, Anthony May, and I have agreed with the affected families that we will work with them on a full and meaningful apology when we have read and considered Donna's report in full. We need some time to do that. Today, however, it is important that I make an initial apology for the failures of the Trust on behalf of the board. We are sincerely sorry for what has happened and for the harm which has been caused. Now the independent review has been published, we will take time to read and understand Donna's findings. What I can offer today is the absolute commitments of this Trust Board to ongoing improvements, open and transparency, and an open and transparent independent-led governance of that improvements, and the long-term engagement of families. Over the years of Donna's review, we have learned a great deal from the families, but we know there's much more still to learn. From our engagement with the families, I know that taking accountability for our failings and securing lasting improvement is how we will restore trust and confidence in our maternity services. To this end, on behalf of the Trust Board, I accept full responsibility for what has happened. It does not matter that many of the failings identified happened in the past, because it is this board which will deal with the lasting legacy of the failings and the harm caused. At the same time, it is this board that will work to secure sustainable improvements. Whilst today is not a day to talk about the improvements we've made in recent years, I'm encouraged by the acknowledgement made by Donna of the many areas where things have improved. Whilst this is a helpful reflection of our commitment to maternity services, it is clear that we have much more still to do. I want to pay tribute to the more than 2,500 families who have been part of the independent review. Many families have been generous enough to meet with us, showing extraordinary courage and determination. We are grateful for that, and we want you to know that the publication of this report is not the end of a process. It is another important milestone in a journey that must continue. Your bravery and commitment to speaking up is helping to improve maternity care. I would like to say a few words about the work of our staff. First of all, I want to thank the more than 800 staff who engaged with the independent review. Your feedback is invaluable and will be treated with the respect and seriousness it deserves. Secondly, I want to apologise to you all because we have not always provided you with the environment for the provision of safe care. I know you work hard every day, often under difficult circumstances, and I am grateful to you. We will do all we can to support you. I should also like to thank Donna Ockenden and her team. Donna is a formidable and lifelong advocate for women, families, and safe maternity care. We have engaged with Donna's review from day one, and Donna has been very helpful in providing us with ongoing feedback, which has helped us with our improvement efforts. The Chief Executive and I are grateful to Donna for all that she has done for local women and families, and for the way in which she has reached out to so many local communities, with a particular focus on those who are often not heard. I know from discussions with families just how much the work of Donna and her team means to them, and we are equally grateful, Donna. In addition, we are appreciative to the efforts Donna has gone to through the Staff Voices initiative to engage with our staff. It is of vital importance that we carefully consider the findings of the review and that we use them to improve. There is a need to implement the review's urgent and immediate actions, but there is an equally important requirement to read and understand the entirety of the review so that we can make the maximum use of what Donna and her team have identified. This is not least because so many families have had the courage to contribute. The work of responding to the review must be done openly and transparently, and in partnership with families and our staff. To that end, I am pleased to announce today that Michelle Welsh MP, who's here today, has agreed to chair a Learning and Improvement Board, which will oversee our improvement. Michelle is His Majesty's Government's maternity advisor and has personal experience of poor care in our maternity services. I want to thank Michelle for agreeing to assist us, and I want to offer Michelle all the necessary support in undertaking this important task on behalf of local women and families. I know that words cannot make up for what has happened. We cannot change the past, but we can influence the future. Whilst it is not comfortable to see our failings laid bare, we must see this as a watershed moment and embrace the findings of the review and the crucially important messages it contains about the quality of our maternity services and the way in which we provide them. Through ongoing engagement with affected families and our staff, we can use the review to make lasting improvements and to restore public trust and confidence. That is our duty, and that is the commitment of the Trust Board. And I would like to ask Trust Board members, please, now to stand and to turn around so that you are identified for members of the public. Thank you. I want to now invite Emily.
Thank you, Nick. Donna's report gives 2,544 families a voice. Most of these 2,544 families have, until now, been actively disempowered by the Trust. To date, the Trust has proven itself incapable of meaningful accountability and change. NUH has perpetuated and propagated harm to the families it serves, repeatedly displaying the same appalling failures in patient safety, governance and leadership that have existed for decades. This must stop now. We praise the courage of the 838 staff members who shared their experience with the review and recognise that they too have been victims of a horrific culture which directly and negatively impacted safety. Whilst we recognise that many staff members are also victims of working within a toxic and bullying system, those who have caused, allowed or furthered harm to families must be robustly held to account. Only accountability can incentivise action, and we ask the Trust to engage with regulators to achieve this. Thank you for acknowledging that an apology can never be meaningful unless it recognises specific wrongs. You've recognised the imperative of collaborating with families to shape the content of an apology, and we hope this will happen swiftly, compassionately and meaningfully. For many families, an apology, however comprehensive, will not be sufficient, and nothing short of a confession will do. The purpose of an apology isn't to assuage the guilt of the perpetrator. It's to demonstrate what will be done differently going forward. We ask what the Trust will now do to acknowledge the specific harm caused to individual families, which has been recognised by Donna's report. How will the Trust reverse its adversarial position, which currently exists within legal and investigative proceedings? Donna's report represents a seminal watershed moment in maternity safety, an opportunity for change which must be seized, and we implore you to take it. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I now invite Anthony May and Tracy to come forward.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tracy Pilcher and I'm the Chief Nurse at Nottingham University Hospitals. I'm going to run through these slides on behalf of the board and Anthony. Yesterday, we received the report from Donna and the team, and we also watched the live broadcast from the families, and it was a very impactful moment. Whilst we've been working over the past 4 years very closely with Donna and understood the harm caused, I think hearing the voices of families was particularly impactful for all our staff. We now need to build on this, and we now need to take this moment to really think about the future safety of maternity services, both for NUH and also across the NHS. When we looked at the immediate and essential actions and the findings of the review, it was clear that we had failed in our duties to provide safe services, but we'd also failed in our duty to listen to the voice of families. And whilst we can only apologise for that, as Nick outlined, the work now is rebuilding our services and making sure that they are able to respond effectively to the needs of families, women and our staff. I'd like to set out our future governance arrangements and also recognising we can only do this in partnership with our families and with our staff to really look at how those governance arrangements will work and how we need to be held to account for implementing in full the recommendations, both
immediately essential actions.
Thank you.
Not recommendations. I will not have recommendations. Sorry, Tracy, I just have to say it.
No apologies, Donna.
That's all right.
So immediate and essential actions and also our local actions. Could just move slides on, please. I think the key point is the report providing assurance to families that their care has been reviewed in detail, and by implementing the immediate actions and our local actions, then this will rebuild that high quality maternity service. We move on. Thank you. We recognise that listening to women and families is an essential part, and there is significant actions in the report for us to take in relation to this. I thank Donna for laying these out so clearly that enables us to rebuild our focus and ensure we're able to deliver what is required within those immediate actions and what is required for the future of our services. If we look at the local actions, again, it is a case of making sure that these are implemented in full and recognising the wide-ranging changes and improvements that we need to make. To do this, we've looked at our future governance arrangements, and our Learning and Improvement Board will be chaired. We can move on to the next slides. Next slide, please. By Michelle Welsh. It is a privilege and an honour to have Michelle as part of our Learning and Improvement Board, and I know from her reputation how fiercely, like Donna, she advocates on behalf of women and their families. We recognise that failing women and families has been at the heart of the report, and therefore it's absolutely essential that alongside Donna, who has been, as Nick describes, phenomenal in her role as an independent chair, holding us to account and constantly reminding us of the needs and the responsibilities we hold. So Donna will co-chair the family board with family members. And again, that's going to be a really important part of the work that we do for the future. We recognise over 800 of our staff have come forward as part of the review, and therefore any future focus needs to have our staff at the heart of those improvements by being involved in those improvements and ensuring that they feel empowered to speak up and escalate concerns. This will enable us to create the right culture for the future that continues to focus on improvements in our maternity services. Thank you. I will hand over.
Good morning Trust Board, good morning families, and good morning to the City and County of Nottingham and Nottinghamshire. So when I got home last night, well actually home, the Hilton Hotel, I spend a lot of time in Nottingham, I thought, what more can I say that I haven't already said? And two themes came to my mind late last night. It was people and it was place. So let's do place first of all. We're here in the beautiful city of Nottingham, in the county of Nottinghamshire. And over the last 4 years, I have fallen in love with you, Nottingham and Nottinghamshire. I have met thousands upon thousands of the citizens of Nottingham and Nottinghamshire. And let me be really honest, I've fallen in love with you. My service to this city and this county will go on. And then let's think about people. So we think about families, we think about staff, and I must. There are journalists in this room. Please pay tribute to the 838 members of staff who came forward, right up to and including 2 weeks ago, because they said to my team, Don, we spoke to you in 2025. Can we add a bit more? We were speaking to your staff after the report had gone to print. So I must pay tribute to your staff. And I must pay tribute to the awesome families. There are 7 days in a week. There's not a single day that goes by, whether by Instagram or WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever, that I'm not in touch with these awesome people. And then let's just think about something that all of us as human beings have to do. There are two things. We have to be born. Sadly, at some point we have to die. And what I will say to you as Trust Board members is, you let people down when they were born, and we mustn't forget you also let them down when they died. Because yesterday we heard in graphic detail what happened, and I'm going to call it after death treatment, not after death care. Please, all of you, when you go home tonight, remember that, because it's shameful. It is utterly shameful. The fact that 18 families in our review needed to come forward. And I'm being really, really stern with you today because you have to hear it. The fact that 18 family members came forward and told us this, that on top of the harm that happened to them, more harm upon more harm upon more harm was layered by the way that their loved ones, their deceased, were treated, is not acceptable. So, in this place, in this beautiful city and county of Nottingham, families were let down. And I've got here some people and some families that I know so well, and I talk to 7 days a week and I listen to 7 days a week. But now is a time for moving forward. As Nick rightly said, we can't change the past, but we can and we will change the future. In partnership with staff, the 830, and I hope that'll be 1,830. I hope it'll be 18,000. I hope all of us will work together, walk together on a new journey forward. I am absolutely delighted that we start family feedback to our awesome families next week. So for those of you in the city and county of Nottingham and thought, oh, thank goodness, off she goes, send her back to West Sussex, I am going to be around. I will be watching. The families will watch. Do you doubt me, families? No. No. And in partnership with the awesome Michelle Welsh, MP for Sherwood Forest, the first ever national maternity advisor, we will walk this journey together. We're going to make birth and everything that happens afterwards better for the people of this beautiful city and county. I thank Anthony May and Nick Carver for their bravery. I'm sure there must have been moments where they thought, oh, she'll be gone soon. But even if they thought that late on a Saturday night, because we often talk on a Saturday night, don't we? You've never thought that. I think Mrs. May might have done. But there are times when we are in touch again, 7 days a week. We're dealing with stuff all the time, correct? WhatsApp is our best friend. But basically, we're all here in partnership, whether we are board members, whether we are awesome family members, whether we're one of the 838 staff, soon to be 1,838 or 18,000, we're all on a journey together. And what I will say is, I commit myself here today to the people of Nottingham, to the people of Nottinghamshire. We're in this together and we will get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. I now invite Michelle Welsh to speak.
One might feel a little bit set up following Donna Rockington, to be quite honest, but my name is Michelle Welsh. I am the Member of Parliament for Sherwood Forest and the Government's National Maternity Advisor, and I've been on this journey with Nottingham University Hospital Trust and Donna for many years now, walking with the families, working with Donna way before I became a Member of Parliament. And what is clearly evident is there was a will there to make changes. There was amazing people working on the front line. But what was also extremely apparent was something was going seriously, seriously wrong. And it's taken us quite a while, as you know, to get to this point. So I want to pay tribute to the families who have had to fight a system which has meant that time and time and time again, they've had to stand up and speak up about what is the most horrendous, traumatic situation that they have ever have to endure. In fact, what any human being would have to go through. That is an uncomfortable truth for many, many people. And for many, many times I've sat in rooms with officials where that is an uncomfortable truth. But if we start from that point, maybe, just maybe, we start to fix things. Not just here in Nottingham, but nationally. So I thank the families for everything that you do. But I'm so sorry that we have a system that means that's what you have to do to get change. I'd also like to thank the staff that came forward. I've been quite open in the account as to what happened to me. And I often talk about luck that walked into the room. And last night when I was driving back from London, I was thinking about referring to that midwife as luck. And in a way, I wish I remembered her name, because it was more than luck. It was bravery. She stood up when it counts, and I really want to acknowledge that. Because I know there have been some awful things that have been done and people have behaved absolutely appallingly, and I'm not going to shy away from saying that. Some of the behaviour is appalling, is putting it mildly. But in that room of all of that, there was this person. And those are the people that I want to help and I want to support. I want good midwives to be able to become great midwives. I want good obstetricians to become great obstetricians. I want people, when they're looking for a job to come to think Nottingham University Hospitals Trust, that's where I want to be, because they are forward thinking, they are kind and they are compassionate. And I know it's hard for people within the trust. I speak to people in the trust. I talk about people coming up to me at the park and the supermarket. Family staff come up to me as well. And some people tell me how hard it is working in a system that actually isn't working. I also recognise that the trust cannot do this alone. And I think that's where perhaps I can help and step in. Because there are wider systems that are failing, huge systems across the country, that if we don't fix those, then actually it'd be hard for any trust to meet those expectations. And that's why, as a government, and why I'm knocking on the door and within the Department for Health on a regular basis, in fact, non-stop, saying about those national changes that need to take place. And on the eve of Donna Ockendon's report being published, I was with the Secretary of State until quite late in the evening, talking about Nottingham, having very open, frank conversations. Not special advisors, not people from the Department from Health, me sitting there having a very frank, open conversation. And it was clear. I was clear to him that the Trust cannot do it alone. And it is my understanding that actually next week, the Secretary of State will be meeting with the Chief Executive and possibly the board as well. That is to help with regards to that improvement journey. This is really difficult for us as a city and a county. I'm Nottinghamshire born and raised. You can probably tell by the way I speak. I was born in Nottingham City Hospital. As kids, my mum used to point to the window where I was born. You could see it from the ring road of where I was born. My brother was born there as well. It makes me so incredibly sad that when it came to my turn to have my son, I don't point to the window. I hate walking past it. It fills me with dread. And that's what makes me sad about Nottingham. Because I'm proud, and people that work for NUH, many of them are proud to serve Nottingham. I'm so proud to be a Nottinghamshire Member of Parliament. I want to bring that pride back. I want us all to be proud. I want midwives to say that they feel proud that they work in the trust. I want families to say they've got safe and compassionate care. We don't do this alone, and that's why it is important that families play an integral part of this, and actually we rebuild trust. But trust will only be restored if people actually see change, and that's what I intend on helping and supporting and working with the trust to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle and Donna. Now, I think it's appropriate that we create an opportunity for any questions that anybody has. So I'm sure we have a microphone around somewhere. Perhaps somebody will wave at me. There's one at the back. So if there are any questions, please raise your hand. It's not compulsory, but equally, we don't want the opportunity to be missed. And I should say as well that board members will not be rushing away. So if any individual...
Hi, my name's Molly Sutton. I'm mother to a harmed child. Going forward, obviously you have, it's a massive book, let's be real, of all the hard work that Donna and her team have done alongside families. We need accountability, and we need it now. Me personally, I'm 7 years in, and I still don't know why my son can't say I love you, mummy. And I still don't know why you can't walk. When are you planning on giving us the accountability that not only do we really deserve, but we need to be able to even sleep at night?
I think I'll hand over to Anthony to... Can you see Anthony? Seeing just so can you...
Yeah, so thank you very much, Molly. Can you hear me? Okay. So in the last 2 days, I've been asked about accountability by pretty much every media outlet, and that just goes alongside the hundreds of times I've been asked by families and Donna over the years. I've tried to give a consistent answer. First of all, we know as a trust board that we haven't yet met the needs of the families when it comes to accountability. That doesn't mean that we don't recognise it as a very important issue. And remember, this is a trust that pleaded guilty 4 times to charges brought by the CQC to try and signal a change about the way we are seen by the public and the way that we admit to our failings. There are and have been investigations into conduct of staff at many levels in the organisation. Some of those have reached a conclusion. People have been retrained, redeployed and disciplined. I was asked a question yesterday by Michael Buchanan from the BBC, has anyone lost their job? And I had to be honest with him and say no. There are ongoing investigations now, and many of those are being done in partnership with the regulators. I was asked this morning on the Today programme about how we engage with the regulators, and our medical director Manjeet and our chief nurse Tracy are in constant touch with the Nursing and Midwifery Council and the General Medical Council, and we have to let those investigations run their course. And at the same time, we are cooperating with the police in Operation Perth at every level, whether it's the trust being formally named as a suspect in a corporate manslaughter investigation, whether it's the arrests that you've heard about already this week, or whatever might happen in the future with Operation Perth. Now, the police appropriately keep their distance from us. We're not talking to the police regularly because that would be wholly wrong. But when significant events happen, for example, when arrests are made, they do work with us to make sure that's done properly. But I also know that the police are committed to a family first approach. We did also publish this year our first ever public accountability statement of intent, which lays out how as a trust we are held to account. Now, I know that all of these things still amount to big question marks for you, but we'll keep going. We'll keep working with you. We'll keep having these conversations. And even if we don't always satisfy your needs, we'll be open, we'll be honest about it, and we'll always listen and reflect on what we've heard from you.
Thank you. Is this on? Thank you, Anthony. It's great that you're engaging with regulators. Are you referring to regulators?
Do you mind if I ask Manjeet and Tracy to respond to that, because they hold the day-to-day relationship with our regulators?
Can you hear me? Yeah. So the answer to that is that we're working really closely with regulators. So the system of referral requires us to do the investigation. First, there are certain thresholds that we discuss with the regulators around referral, and referral is a particular part in that process. And if that threshold is met, then absolutely that referral will happen. So as you heard Anthony say, that a number of those investigations are ongoing, and until they get to that point, and I appreciate that it takes time and that is frustrating, but equally we do need to make sure that the investigations are robust. Having said that, though, certainly from the GMC point of view, it's not a beginning and end process. So actually I meet with the GMC at least monthly on a named basis, and quite often in between as well. So actually there is very regular conversation, and there's a very clear way that we work with them.
Thank you. Can I just clarify the internal investigations that must be completed before a referral to the regulators can be made? Are they part of the disciplinary process, or are they part of a clinical investigation?
So a bit of both. So sometimes there's a clinical investigation which then leads on to a disciplinary process investigation, but once it's I think you're talking about a regulatory professional standards, then they are within disciplinary processes, which is a nationally set framework, and that's the framework we work within.
Thank you.
Tracy, did you want to come in on that?
No, I mean, from an NMC and a nursing midwifery perspective, it's the same process that Manjeet's described. So there is that process that is about an internal investigation that then leads into a conclusion. I work very closely with the NMC, and some of the fitness to practice process take protracted time periods, so they can go on for a number of years through these processes, so they haven't concluded yet. So I think that's the other thing to describe. The clinical investigation is about the clinical environment, and in that any lessons to learn will be learned from a patient pathway or a clinical perspective. If there are misconduct issues that are identified as part of that, that then goes into a separate process as described.
Can I just add another thing to this, which I think is really important, is that regardless of the investigation and the process, the number one priority is to keep patients and public safe. So even though investigations might be going on, there is a mechanism whereby there is a risk assessment done to make sure that that practitioner is keeping patients and public safe. So sometimes there are restrictions in practice, sometimes some people aren't working in that particular area because, as I say, you know, it's not, we don't wait until the end of the investigation.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I just have a question for the board members. So I would like to hear from you guys. What would you like to see by the time you come to your next board meeting happen?
Okay. Sorry, so the question was, what would board members like to see?
Happen. Yeah, what would they like to hear when they come to the next board meeting?
Yeah, okay.
What are their expectations?
Yeah. So it might make sense to talk also about some of the information in more recent months you also do see. So does anybody want to have a go at that? Yeah, Shubi? Do you want to introduce yourself, Shubi?
Yeah, so shall I use this microphone? Can people hear me? Yeah, hello, I'm Shubi Banerjee. I'm a non-executive director on the Trust Board. I work at the University of Nottingham. I'm the Pro-Vice Chancellor for Medicine and Health Sciences, so I look after health at the university, but I'm a non-executive on this board. I think to answer the question, what I would be looking for as a non-executive director is the list of Donna's immediate essential actions and the plan that we have for acting immediately on those essential actions. And that's how I would structure the interrogation that is our duty as members, as non-executive members of the board, in terms of assuring that there is a proper response to the report. So it's absolutely brilliant that we have the report. It's fantastic that it is as detailed as it is. It is immensely valuable to have the experience of the families distilled in the way that it has been, so that we can act on it. So that's how I would be structuring my interrogation of how the Trust is responding to the report and to the experiences that you've all had.
And again, not just words, but you can scrutinise. So board meetings are open, board papers are placed online. You'll be able to look and see actually what information the board is seeing to give it assurance that actions are being taken. I'm conscious, I think, there's some more questions.
Hi there, good morning. Morning, Nick, Anthony. To the board members that we haven't met, this is our daughter, Labour. She was wrongfully terminated, executed. Now, the question that I have this morning is still, after 7 years, many of us are still having significant issues trying to access our data that you hold. Equally, we're aware of what's happened in the Nottingham inquiries. Manji, obviously, were there. For some of us, still, we're requiring access logs and the right to know who's accessed our record. And the Trust is currently applying a thin veil of GDPR to not allow us direct access to those medical professionals that have accessed our records, be it legitimately or illegitimately. Us, including the families affected by the inquiries, as you well know, are directly trying to still get access to who has accessed our logs and why. What's happening 7 years on, we're still fighting, still waiting for information.
Okay.
Do you want to come to the lecture?
Do you want to introduce yourself, Andy?
Yeah. Good morning. Yeah, I'm Andy Callow. I'm the Chief Digital Transformation Officer, and responsibility for information sits with me in the organisation. So I think it's really important that we fulfil our duty to share records appropriately with families. It's a right to have that access. There are, of course, GDPR regulations we need to within. I think in response to your question, what we're trying to do is balance that, the access of that, and provide you the information. So I'm aware of the request, and we're doing our best to try and respond to that. As you know, we're trying to take responsibility for staff to only access records legitimately very seriously. There's been internal campaigns within the organisation to make sure people are doing that, and we're in the process of introducing some additional audit processes to try and monitor that along the way to make sure that that is happening.
We're very aware of all that, but still, and even the ISO guidelines, the very thin veil of GDPR being applied over the top of it, and in contact with the ICO, there should be no reason why you can't provide us, even in an anonymised fashion, those times, dates, access points directly. There's no reason why that shouldn't be applied in the very first instance in an anonymised way, let alone actually who's had access to our records. I think applying a balance test to saying that you're protecting the doctors over us who's legitimately accessed our records is far beyond accessible, and even in contact with the ICO, they'll probably side with us on that when you look at some of the legislation that's around it and the way that they see. And I don't think anyone in the room would try to understand why you've, over GDPR, trying to protect the doctors over us having our information, who's accessed our records.
Yeah, I think there is a way to be able to get you what you need, and I'll commit to providing that.
I think Manjeet wants to come in as well.
Hi, Carl. Thank you for asking the question. And you're right. We were part of the Nottingham inquiry for exactly this reason. And the questions you're asking were exactly the same questions that I was asked by the families, sadly, in the Nottingham inquiry. And what I can tell you is the things you've just mentioned, we will give you. We can give you, and we will give you, and we can make that commitment today.
When?
So
can we put a time frame on that?
I can't put a time frame, but what I will say is that we've learned, and we will treat you the same way that we did, and actually we will work with Andy and the board and review the information that you're asking for. We can
7 years still waiting. The last one around the data again. I'm aware that you had the enforcement notice back in, you had to comply by January. You failed that, and you're now on course, am I right in saying, to fail again on your compliance with your FOIs for summer, correct?
So it is, it's a matter of fact that we had an enforcement notice from the ICO in July 2025 as a result of our compliance in responding to FOIs in a timely manner. So we had an action plan that we put in place. We made great progress in that. We didn't fully meet the requirements of that. We're now in correspondence with the ICO around doing that. We've made really good progress on our FOIs, and we'll be meeting the compliance that's required by the end of this month. So we've made tremendous progress in responding to the FOIs in a timely manner. Still more to do, but we're now on the sort of final numbers that are being overdue, and we will get to a position where we are in compliance.
So you've had the enforcement notice, and what action has the ICO taken with their teeth against non-compliance?
So at the minute we're providing evidence of where we are to the end of this month, and the ICO will consider that and make their next steps.
So just again, in terms of the spirit of openness and continuing to monitor the actions of the board, that will come to board meetings. Yeah. So that will be in board papers. So you will be able to track that going forward. Can we move on?
Hello, anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Mel. My daughter Maya was born 10 years ago, and she had a severe brain injury through many failings. And I won't go into the details now, but what I want to ask, well, there's two questions now. The first one is that it was agreed when I met with yourselves, Tracy, Anthony and Manjeet, it was agreed that Maya's and my care should have been raised as a serious incident all those years ago, and it wasn't. And obviously we're not the only family that's happened to. And I know we're looking at ways of going forward, but I think to do that, we also need to go back to the past, and we need to consider all of those incidents that weren't classed as serious incidents, and to look at what happened, why it happened, and to learn from that. Now, you've had the information for a long time, so I would expect that that is something that is being worked upon, and I just would like reassurances that those past experiences are learnt from, because, as I say, it was never declared a serious incident, and it was. Another thing is, yes, we were lucky to bring Amaya home. And when I say lucky, yes, she's alive, but she is severely brain injured. I recently went through Amaya's medical records. It took a long while and lots of pages. And I went to the data team and said, I would like some more information. I would like, there's scans missing. Now, bear in mind, Amaya has brain injury. This is imperative that we have these scans. Amaya has cysts on the brain, which we knew she'd had, we were told, but I have since found out those have been named, and they are cysts that are potentially fatal, serious consequences. I've requested those scans. I've requested a lot of information. Andy, I worked closely with your deputy on this, Claire, and we were having an ongoing conversation. I gave her lots of information. She asked for dates, specific dates and everything, gave her all of that. She was liaising with me, and suddenly that information stopped. And I have not heard from anyone since, I think it's April now. Bearing in mind, this is crucial information, and I was told we're working on it. And you probably are, but there's no communication. And I'll be honest, that information should be to hand. So where are those scans?
Okay. Who wants to pick that up? Andy.
To say quickly, I'll follow that up. I'm sorry if the communication has stopped. I am aware of every subject access request that is now beyond expected timelines. I have a list of those. I can follow that up and make sure that's been progressed. Yeah.
It's not fair.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay. I'll follow that up.
Okay. Tracy.
So thank you for raising that, Mel, and apologies. I know Andy has acknowledged it's really important we keep you up to date, and it's really important that we give you an immediate update where we are. You're right to raise the serious incident and the lessons that we need to learn, and we will look at those timelines and make sure that we've taken account of what wasn't reported at the time, and ensuring that any learning needs to be incorporated. We have got a learning review panel on a weekly basis where all incidents are reviewed, and serious incidents, as they used to be called, patient safety incidences now, we determine the level, and we also as a panel rather than individuals, and that's about making sure from a multi-professional perspective we're taking account of the different aspects of the incident, and also ensuring that we've got the most appropriate investigation in place that keeps us as an organisation on that improvement. The themes from that are then taken into our quality assurance committee. So again, there is very close scrutiny by the different structures, both at board level but also with the committees of the board.
Okay, any questions?
Yes. So we heard in Donna's report about the toxic culture that exists at NUH. And in her report, the 800 plus staff that came forward, 40% of them have witnessed or experienced bullying. And we've seen on accounts on Panorama, on news articles, families' accounts, some really horrific treatment to patients and among staff. What are you going to do about this? How are you going to get to the bottom of it? That's just 800 staff members coming forward. How are you going to tackle that in your institution?
Thank you. So this issue of culture, amongst everything, is extremely important. This isn't a scientific response. I'll let Tracy give you a response about the things we're doing, the programmes of activity we've got in place to try and help promote a healthy culture in the organisation. But yesterday morning I went to City Hospital. I walked around maternity, neonates, and I spoke to midwives, some of whom have been in the trust for almost 20 years, asked them what it was like now. Bear in mind these are experienced colleagues, and they've been there a long time, they said it's improved a lot. The relationships are much more positive, the leadership is more visible and engaged. They feel more able to speak up and challenge, particularly if they're worried about decision making and the safety or welfare of a woman as a consequence of that. So I did take some comfort from that. The other things I've been saying in the last couple of days when questioned about culture is the recruitment and retention, particularly of midwives, is a lot better. There's an awful lot more to do with the recruitment and retention of doctors, but we have got a plan for that. So an example, 91 midwives have joined the trust in the last 18 months or 2 years. 88 are still with us, and the 3 that moved on for career reasons, not because they weren't supported. We've got preceptorship programs, midwife mentors and advocates, medical mentors. There's loads of things we are doing, which Tracy can list. I went to QMC last night before I went home. It was very hot. People had a very long day, but they were positive about the report. They want to take up the challenge of proving to local people that their services can be better and meet aspirations of their taxpayers, their local people. They want all of that. So my experience in the almost 4 years I've been here is that we've brought these issues around culture into the open. We haven't fixed them all, but at least now people are happy to talk about them openly, and I don't think that's always been the case.
Just something on that.
Sorry.
You said when you met the staff, for a balanced approach on that, obviously you painted a picture of the positives. Now, I'm finding it a little unrealistic that maybe in that scenario when you met the staff, even yesterday, that there was no negative sides that they would have talked about still.
No, that I wouldn't want to mislead anyone. Carl.
What was there any negatives that they said on the walk round?
The staff were very open with me yesterday. I have to say at City Hospital, Karen, one of our non-executive directors, was with me and can speak for herself. They gave us lots of suggestions. So I met one colleague who's a liaison officer working with families, and she talked to me about an intervention she'd made the day before, which had got somebody's maternity journey back on track. So loads of positives. When I went to QMC in the evening, and Karen wasn't with me for that, people had a long hot day. The air conditioning wasn't working properly in the antenatal clinics. They'd received some very direct questioning from members of the public about the report, what it meant for maternity services. We talked a lot about the conditions in which they work, and I took away a long list of stuff to work through with colleagues to see if we can fix it. So it's always balanced, and I always try and balance it against...
Carl, can I come in on this? Because I said in my statement, we're not today seeking to go through how things have improved. And I don't want us, through questioning, to get taken into that line. I think Anthony's outlined his experience. You know him well enough, his honest experience yesterday morning. And it will be for future board meetings, placing in the public domain future information to give you information that enables you to assess whether the improvement we've said we're committed to is happening or not. And Michelle and others will hold us to account for that. So, sorry, I don't want to cut across, but I don't want us inadvertently to move into territory where we're seeking to justify the improvements that have been made. That's not what today's about.
It wasn't about the improvement, it was just about whether there was any negative around the culture.
And there are.
That was just
and let's be honest.
I just didn't hear that, and that was okay, just being transparent.
Sorry, Carl, but there are. We know we've still got work to do. There's a question over here, I think.
Hi, thank you. My name's Keith. I'm father to a harmed child. More to kind of raise an idea rather than necessarily seek an answer right now, but now that we know something of the extent of the failings in maternity and neonatal services, are we going to be looking at addressing issues in paediatrics? Because for a long time, I think partly because the failings were not recognised in maternity and neonatal, and I think there's been a lot of denial about what's been going on. a lot of us have had to fight for a long, long time to get the damage that was done to our children recognised. We've fought for 14 and a half years to get the brain injury that our son suffered recognised, and therefore to get the appropriate treatment. So we're going to be looking at paediatrics now and making sure that they are actively looking for signs of brain injury in children that have otherwise being written off as, oh, it's just his autism. And we're going to try and put an end to that. Thank you.
Who's this? Is this Manjeet or Tracy?
Probably a combination. So thank you for the question, and you're absolutely right to raise that. So as you know from our conversations and with Mel as well, we do need to do more work on those pathways and make sure that we recognise the harm that's been caused, but also, as has been described, the compounding of that when our pathways aren't working properly, the investigations that are required, and there is more work for us to do in relation to that. We have to learn from some of the areas that we've started focusing on, but it goes back to some of the questions already around the culture and how we ensure that we are open and transparent, that we investigate things quickly when they go wrong, and that we're able to respond to families appropriately rather than holding things back and not recognising where we need to make those improvements. So we have started some of that conversation with the clinical teams around our paediatric pathways, but there is much more for us to do, and I think that will be part of the work that we do together as part of that patient and family board, so that when you're raising things, you can feel confident that we are looking at those in detail and then starting to respond to those.
I think one of the features of the Nottingham review, and it's going to go on, is the fact that, he's so looking forward to it, is the fact that for the last 3 years, on an almost daily basis, I've been in touch with Anthony, my team have been in touch with Anthony, and when families within the review, even families outside the review, raise concerns about care, we have an escalation process. We have a spreadsheet the size of the globe where my team, my amazing team, Victoria, Elise and the admin team in my office, we follow up. And if Tracy might be a little bit slow in letting us know about what is happening with this patient, what is happening with that family, we know, we've got it flagged. She thinks, oh, not her again. But I want to give you that assurance. We have a system for following up concerns in the here and now, even things that are not in this report, and we're going to keep that going. It has worked, and it's worked so well, and Michelle Welsh, as an awesome MP, knows this, it's worked so well, we've put it into the terms of reference for the forthcoming Leeds and Sussex reviews. So I just want to assure people in this place, in this city and in this county, that aside from everything in this big purple report, we are on your side. I work with Manjeet, Tracy and Anthony pretty much every day of the week, making sure that your healthcare needs that need sorting in the here and now are happening. True?
Can I also just add something really important to that? So Keith, I'm aware of your situation and all the struggles that you're having there. And I think with the announcement yesterday around Martha's rule now being extended, I think there's a real need gap opportunity here, because some of the things that we're really struggling with is to get those really specialised second opinions, because actually sometimes we only have 1 or 2 specialists, and for understandable reasons, you don't want that specialist opinion from the same people that actually you've been treated with. We need a better system, a better network of how we can get those really specialist opinions from other trusts, other regions, other areas, to make sure they're really objective. And at the moment, you and I know that actually what happens is we go around asking individuals. There's got to be a better network to do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Mel.
Yeah, me again. Yes, and on that, because several of us, we did meet with you, didn't we, quite recently? And I know that you are currently waiting on me to get back to you about our next steps, which we decided we were going to wait for the report to come out because this was obviously so crucial. So I appreciate that you are liaising, and also it is very difficult obviously for parents, and you know I'm one of those parents as well that's struggling with getting the right diagnosis and that, but it's a big job from every perspective, and it's going to be step by step, and we just have to make sure that it's right.
Thanks, Mel. I'm sure you're aware of our family as well, and we've been in contact very recently. We're still using Trust Paediatric Services, and it does leave a bitter taste when the trust that caused our daughters harm continues to this day to further the harm that our family experiences. How can the trust make sure that the previous trauma that it has caused to families is recognised and accommodated within the big picture care that a child receives?
So when we met with colleagues a few weeks ago, families rather, that was the thing that I took away the most. It's how we can join things up inside the hospitals, but critically with other agencies as well. So some of you know that many years ago, I used to be responsible for specialist educational needs at the county council. Worked with Michelle on a lot of this stuff for many years as well. And the gaps that families fall between have not been closed successfully over time. Maybe through our family board and our staff board and bringing all those different perspectives and experiences together, we can identify the gaps, agree how to close them. I think the other important thing here is to think about family liaison, where we have put family liaison in place in perinatal services. Families are saying that they appreciate it. The example I gave yesterday, to Carl, that had put that woman's maternity journey back on track because of that intervention.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to be thinking about that for paediatric services as well. I don't know how we'll do it, I will pay for it, but we need to have those conversations and understand what it would take, because quite often, and certainly the case with you and Caitlin, if you don't mind me naming your daughter, it's about communication, and it's about meeting people's expectations in a timely way before things get to the point where you're so stressed you have to email me or Donna. That's what we need to do, understand the triggers and the barriers to successful care, but also successful communication.
Thank you.
Hi again. Sorry. So this may sound a bit blunt, and I don't mean it to at all. I'm really sorry in advance. So as, again, a parent who has used the paediatric service, are the paediatric service, I know it's obviously different to maternity, but in, say, our circumstances, they do come hand in hand. Will the paediatric service ever be held to account as well for not recognising the harms in maternity?
That is quite blunt.
Sorry.
I think you're going to have to let me have a think about that.
Email me, you've got
I
it.
suppose what I would say is, but this is going to feel like a sort of managerial response. All of our services are held to account because they have to meet certain standards, and then either the board or the regulators or the inspectors come and check that we're meeting the standards. Sounds a bit trite when we've just been talking about poor experiences though, doesn't it? So I think the issue here is how can we bring all the parties together with the help of Michelle and Donna. We've got the year of government, it seems, to play these things out in a way that means we can put policy and practice into place that closes a gap. Means you don't have to fight every time something happens, and the communication's better and the support to families is better. Because I think if our paediatricians came to the table today, they would see themselves as being accountable professionals, but they would also identify where things could be done differently and better, whether it's resource or the way the system mitigates against success or where agencies don't work together. So let's just keep that conversation going, please.
And thank you, Anthony. That's great that that's your plan for the future. This is more of a comment than a question, but there are families now, today, with children in hospital who are facing barriers to being heard. And there needs to be a mechanism in place for those families to have a voice before the longer term plan can be implemented.
So thank you. It's not an imperfect, this is an imperfect answer, but we do have a referral mechanism. We do pick things up on a daily basis. There is one of our community paediatricians in the team who looks at referrals where it relates to paediatric and other community services, so we keep that going. In the meantime, I accept often it's too late because families are already frustrated and upset with us and the communication's not been good enough. So as well as that, I think we do need to give some urgent thought as to whether we could extend the family liaison arrangements into paediatric services. So we will do that and keep the conversation going through the new Learning and Improvement Board.
Can we bring it back to board, please? Can we bring it back to Trust Board? Next Trust Board, Subi and colleagues? Yeah, I think next Trust Board, can we have a plan?
So what we'll do, because Dom never asks questions.
Demand.
Just issue these instructions. I think what we'll do is have a think about where it fits into the urgent and immediate actions, because it'll be in there somewhere.
Oh, yes.
And make sure it features in the report that we bring to the next Trust Board. Yeah,
Very happy to work with you on that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I know would emphasise that board members aren't rushing away, so feel free to ask them questions if you don't want to articulate that question publicly. Just pausing there, in which case I'm very grateful for your time this morning. I suppose a brief personal footnote, which isn't confidential, it's well known, but a number of months ago I was approached and appointed, actually following a process, to be chair of East of England's region of the NHS. And so it's been important to commence a process to recruit a new chair to this organisation. That process is underway. As family members know, there's a process where family members will be involved in that process as well. I'm really pleased that given my imminent departure, we have a member of the board in Karen Tomlinson, perhaps you would stand, Karen, who has previously been chair of East Midlands Ambulance Trust for a number of years. She's a very experienced former chair, and Karen will be the interim chair for the next few months. Karen's asked me to make it clear that she is not going to be a candidate for the substantive post, but she will be a very capable interim chair, and I'm grateful, Karen, for you for taking over. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.